It was a golden Los Angeles evening when an elderly man walked into one of the city's most luxurious restaurants, the Grand Oak. He wasn't flashy. He didn't arrive in a limousine, no security guards, no cameras, just a simple gray polo shirt, casual slacks, and a calm stride that spoke louder than any designer suit. Most of the veteran staff recognized him immediately, but one person didn't. Rachel. She was new, fresh out of hospitality school, her apron still crisp, her eyes scanning the room for influencers and celebrities to impress. When she noticed the man sitting quietly in the corner table, sipping a basic house whiskey, her expression tightened. A place like the Grand Oak wasn't meant for those kind of customers, at least not in her eyes. What she didn't know, what she never imagined, was that the man she was about to humiliate owned not just the table, but the entire place, and the lesson she was about to learn would echo far beyond that dining room. Sometimes the loudest insults are wrapped in polite smiles. It was a golden Los Angeles evening when an elderly man walked into one of the city's most luxurious restaurants, the Grand Oak. He wasn't flashy. He didn't arrive in a limousine. No security guards, no cameras, just a simple gray polo shirt, casual slacks, and a calm stride that spoke louder than any designer suit. Most of the veteran staff recognized him immediately, but one person didn't. Rachel. She was new, fresh out of hospitality school, her apron still crisp, her eyes scanning the room for influencers and celebrities to impress. When she noticed the man sitting quietly in the corner table, sipping a basic house whiskey, her expression tightened. A place like the Grand Oak wasn't meant for those kind of customers, at least not in her eyes. What she didn't know, what she never imagined, was that the man she was about to humiliate owned not just the table, but the entire place. And the lesson she was about to learn would echo far beyond that dining room. He knew the man in the polo shirt, and he knew trouble was coming. Just a few tables away, Miguel, a young busboy from Mexico, froze in place. He'd been clearing dishes when he heard Rachel's voice. As he turned, his eyes locked onto the man in the polo shirt. His heart skipped. He knew that face. He had seen it 100 times beside his father, watching old Clint Eastwood films on a dusty television. That calm expression, that quiet power, unmistakable. Miguel's grip tightened around the tray in his hands. He didn't want to cause a scene, but he couldn't stand by and watch someone disrespect him. Not this man. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Miss Rachel, maybe I should call Mr. Thomas." "Go bus tables," Rachel snapped, not even looking at him. "That's what you're here for." Miguel stepped back slowly, jaw clenched, humiliated. Thomas saw it all. He had seen it coming. And yet, he didn't move. Because weeks ago, Clint had told him, "Don't treat me any different. Let me see how the staff really are." And now the test was playing out, right in front of everyone. She didn't just cross the line. She buried it. Rachel leaned in further, her tone sharpened like broken glass. "This isn't some roadside diner, sir," she said loudly enough for other tables to hear. "This is the Grand Oak. We have standards." The words sliced through the air. An older couple at the next table shifted awkwardly. The husband opened his mouth to intervene, but his wife placed a hand on his wrist. She recognized something in the old man's eyes, something calm and dangerous. Clint gently placed his whiskey on the table. In that moment, a silence fell, not forced but chosen. Other guests were listening now. The tension buzzed like static in the air. Rachel, unaware of the storm she'd summoned, pushed on. "You might have been someone once, but here, status isn't enough. Our guests expect a certain ambiance." She gestured to a group of influencers snapping selfies with their golden desserts. Clint didn't blink. Then, softly but firmly, he said, "Tell me, Rachel, what do you think luxury really means?" Her name. He wasn't wearing a name tag. She hadn't introduced herself. Her breath caught, but it was too late. He didn't need to raise his voice. The truth was loud enough. Clint reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone. Calmly, he dialed. "Jerry, can you bring me the ownership papers and the renovation plans?" "Yes, right now." He ended the call and looked up. Rachel's posture stiffened, her eyes darted around. Guests were staring now. "I've been coming here every Friday," Clint began, "sitting at this exact table for 6 months. Rachel swallowed. "I bought this restaurant not for the prestige, but to protect what it used to stand for, a place where people were treated with respect, regardless of what they wore or how many followers they had." Gasps echoed through the room. A few phones stopped recording. Even the influencers had lowered their cameras. Moments later, Jerry, an older gentleman in a tailored vest, arrived holding a leather folder. He handed it silently to Clint, who opened it and laid out the documents on the table. Black and white, clear as day. Clint Eastwood owned the Grand Oak, and Rachel. She had just insulted her boss, and a legend. Real class isn't worn, it's lived. Clint leaned back slightly in his chair. The tension had shifted from silence to shame, but his voice remained steady. 50 years ago, I came here for the first time. I wasn't famous, I wasn't anybody. He gestured gently around the room. The owner back then, Old Man Thompson, treated me like I was the only guest that mattered, not because he knew who I was, but because that's how he treated everyone. Rachel lowered her eyes. The weight of her mistake was setting in. When his son wanted to sell this place, I bought it, not for money, not for fame, but because I wanted to protect that spirit. He paused and looked straight at her. Real luxury isn't about gold on a dessert or viral posts. It's about dignity, about making everyone feel seen. A silence deeper than any before filled the room. Miguel, standing quietly nearby, looked up, and Clint smiled at him. "Your father taught you well," he said gently, "and you reminded me why this place still matters. Some lessons break you, the right ones rebuild you." Clint looked at Rachel. "You know, I could fire you right now." The words hit like thunder, though his tone remained calm. "But that's not what this place stands for," he continued. "It's not about punishment, it's about growth." He turned to Miguel. "This young man saw something you didn't. He recognized me, not from headlines or social media, but because he watched my films with his father. He understood respect." Miguel's eyes widened. Clint nodded. "How would you like to start waiter training next week?" Miguel choked back his emotions. "Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd be honored." Clint turned back to Rachel. "As for you, you have a choice. You can walk out of here, find another job, and forget this night ever happened. Or," he paused, "you can stay, learn, and maybe one day teach others what real hospitality looks like." Rachel, eyes glistening, nodded slowly. "I want to stay. I want to learn, if you'll let me." Clint raised his glass. "Then welcome to the real Grand Oak. Legends don't leave. They echo." As Clint finished his whiskey, the room remained silent, not out of fear, but out of respect. The older couple across the way began to clap, then a few more joined. But it wasn't for fame. It wasn't even for Clint. It was for what he stood for. Thomas nodded, quietly instructing Miguel to take over Rachel's retraining. Rachel offered a sincere thank you, her voice softer than before, her posture humbler. The influencers put their phones away. The chef peeked from the kitchen and smiled. Clint rose from his chair, straightened his polo shirt, and left a generous tip on the table. He didn't make a speech. He didn't pose for pictures. He just gave a quiet nod and walked out the same way he came in. No fanfare, no spotlight, just respect. And if you ever visit the Grand Oak on a Friday evening, you might still see him there. Same table, same drink, same quiet smile. Because some legends don't just write stories, they live them.